Season 10 could not have started any better, with a highly competitive opening event in Monte Carlo setting the championship battle up beautifully. Luca Chiapelli, Phil Bargewell and Dom Smith all come here with just 4 points between them. Attention's now turned to Rally Australia, making its first appearance in 5 seasons, and this is a completely different contest to what we had last time out. It has gravel on the road and trees in its side, making for a potent cocktail of speed and danger. Championship leader Luca got off to the best possible start, reaching the end of the opening stage and finishing 1.5 seconds clear of closest rival Phil. Behind them, Dan set a very impressive time to lie third overall, a further 3 seconds back. Behind the leading 3, it was close between Owen, John, Dom and Iggy, just over 2 seconds covering the chasing quartet after the opening stage. It wasn't the start that Zach was after, losing 21 seconds as he came unstuck after rolling his Citroen onto its side. He would sit down in 16th, with plenty of work ahead if he was to make the podium. Quite possibly believing there were bonus points for finishing in style, John went flying as he reached the end of the opening run, his car thankfully all okay to continue after this. In Chandler's Creek, Luca was once again quick as through, but this time by an impressive 9 seconds. Any suggestions that the Manxman would feel the pressure running as championship leader looked foolish, at least for the time being. Dom was the man who came closest, but a second fastest time did move him into third overall, while Phil was just a couple of seconds further back, a steady time that kept him in second. Owen hit bad fortune as a clip on the inside of a corner sent him down into a field, and with a reset that cost him an 11-second time penalty, he dropped outside the top 10 places. Court was looking to respond from his heartbreak of Monte Carlo, but a scruffy start in Australia saw the Dutchman make multiple mistakes, losing him big time to the leaders. And proving just how tricky this rally can be, the slightest of contact with the banking sent Sam's Subaru out of control, landing on a gate that caused punctures in both rear tyres. This meant completing the remainder of the stage would become very difficult indeed. A lack of grip and steering then sent Sam into a field that he would take 25 seconds to recover from. Having repaired the Subaru runner's car, the mechanic's efforts would ultimately be in vain, as just 22 seconds into the following stage, Sam smashed yet another gate that this time would lead to an instant retirement. John had been setting the pace on stage 3, but his rally would come to an end after the deadly Australian gates claimed another victim. There'd be no points scored for John here. Court was unfortunate to pick up 2 punches himself. The fast and dangerous start to this stage was catching out the mighty, and with just 1 spare tyre in the back of his car, meant almost 3 minutes would be lost here. Dom was fastest through Taylor Farm's sprint, edging him closer to not only Phil, but Luca's rally lead too. Just over 12 seconds was the difference, with the final stage to come. Zach was second quickest, but the time lost in the previous leg meant any chance of victory was already out of the window. The recovering former rally winner was at least inside the top 5 and chasing Dan for 4th now. With so much damage sustained to Court's vehicle throughout the rally, the Dutchman agonisingly crawled through the final stage until finally the car had suffered enough. As for the second time this season, he failed to reach the finish. Arguably the most embarrassing DNF of the rally had to go to Mike. Driving straight into a tree was only going to end one way.
Oh, you joking?
Dom was running quick and on course for the stage win, but when the rear of his car tapped a tree, a puncture was the result, and it ended any chance of a big result here. Making multiple pirouettes on the way to the finish, the Manxman dropped from 3rd to 6th. Dan was another to throw it away on the final run. A much bigger impact resulted in 2 punches as he fell down to 8th. Maybe the light blue paint job wasn't thick enough to prevent Dom and Dan from earning them damage. Dom is seeking legal advice as he tries to work out if the sponsors deliberately made the car a light paint job to make sure that he obtained damage. Having scored no power stage points in Monte Carlo, Luca was well aware of the importance of picking up additional points here. But trying maybe a little too hard, the championship leader went marginally wide at one corner that briefly brought his Citroen to a stop. He did earn back some time as the confidence returned through Mount K Pass reverse, but again getting out of line in the 7th split meant more time was lost, and suddenly it was just about making sure he kept the rally lead away from Phil. Phil's time was much quicker than Luca's, but at only 7 seconds, it wasn't quite enough to overturn the man up front. For the second week in a row, Phil would miss out on rally victory by just a few seconds. Zach had the next quickest time, enough to move him up to 3rd overall. Luca's pace was still strong enough for a power stage placing, with Zach, Alistair and Iggy also earning additional points alongside the pace setter Phil. So it's 2 wins on the bounce for Luca, a 7th overall, and once again the narrower the margins the difference between him and Phil. Zach recovered to finish 3rd, while Alistair and Iggy were an impressive 4th and 5th. Dom won't be too happy with his finish, while Camo and Blair were both inside the top half on their first appearances of the season. Jacko placed 13th with CJH happy to finish inside the points. There was a long list of drivers who failed to finish in Australia, with Aidan, John and Court the most notable of them. A 2nd consecutive blank for Court means he is having the worst start to a dirt season ever. The gap at the top is now just 6 points in the favour of Luca. Zach jumps Dom for 3rd, while Alistair and Iggy remain close in their fight for 5th. Owen an impressive 7th, as John now falls to 8th. 2 rounds down, and 2 men appear to be the focus of this season's title battle. We'll be back next week, where former 2-time champion Softy joins in on the fun.